Hello and greetings. Welcome to Earground New Voices Amplified. It's another edition where we're looking into the European Film Festival, Zimbabwean edition, the 2021 edition, which is going to be happening in October in Bulawayo as well as in Harare. But as we speak, the Masterclass happening, this is one of the exciting programs that happen during the festival. And I'm joined in by an iconic producer, an artist, a filmmaker, whose resume reads wide and far in terms of expertise, in terms of experience and what he has done in the film industry in Africa and also in Europe. And last year, he was also part of the Masterclass, and this year he also gets to be part of it, which is quite exciting. So we'll be able to speak about the last year experiences and what he's also experiencing this year with regard to interaction with filmmakers. AK Simba from Uganda, but is currently living and based in Belgium. AK, greetings.
Hi, greetings, Lord. What an introduction.
It's a pleasure to be in touch with you and to be talking about the European Film Festival, which brings us together, each and every year. Last year we were together and you're on the ground. This year you are working off the ground. How do you compare it, being there and doing it virtually?
To be very honest, there is nothing that beats human interaction. It's of course it's interesting to see how we can cope to different scenarios and different situations, but nothing beats human contact or the ability to be in the same space to create. That's the only biggest challenge that so far that we've faced. But besides that, it's still very very beautiful to see that we can still be able to share again knowledge and information with ourselves within ourselves as African filmmakers.
Wow, great. I didn't want to ask you to make an introduction because I know you've done so much. I know there are those that are watching and possibly seeing you for the first time because you're always one guy who is hiding behind the scenes and doing all the amazing things. Maybe in brief, to just give people sort of an insight into who is AK Simba.
Well, my name is, like you said, is AK Simba. I'm a Ugandan, born, raised in Kampala. Spent a big part of my life in Uganda and also traveling around Africa, globe-trotting. I'm based right now in Belgium. Live here with my family, and I basically live here. But over the time that I've been here, I have been working back and forth in Africa for the last 8 years. So most of the works that I've done have been in this period between Africa and Europe. So yeah, you could call me a filmmaker, an artist, but I just think like I feel like I'm just a human being who is living his life and trying to enjoy it to the utmost.
Wow, enjoying art to the utmost. You forgot to highlight one of the highlights, and I always mention this because it's one of my favorite all-time films, Queen of Katwe, where you were a props master, for the production, which is one of your many, many, many highlights. Your experience in Zimbabwe last year, what was your take home? What was your experience like interacting with Zimbabwean filmmakers?
You mean the virtual class or the one before this virtual classes?
You did two, right? So
this is the second virtual class.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the first one, yes.
Okay. I mean, the first one was amazing, just like the ones that we are having now. It's interesting to see how much information is lacking out there. Information that we would consider normal in the eyes of the people, in the minds of film practitioners. It's amazing to see that there is things that we don't take serious, things that we don't pay attention to, and are very key in the process of filmmaking. So every day I feel like I'm learning something new, and every day I feel like I have to redesign my approach and how I share on how I share knowledge with my other comrades in both cities, Harare and Bulawayo, that is in Zimbabwe. But back to your question, how was it the first time and now?
Yes.
I think the fire that was in the eyes of the participants for the first time is the fire that is still burning now. You know, that whole that whole quest for knowledge, that whole quest for wanting to be part of a big dream, or wanting to be part of the movements to change the narrative. Because a lot of times, most of the people who are the participants always came up and said, man, how can we change how the films we create in Zimbabwe look like? We feel like we have everything. We feel like we have great actors. We feel like we have great writers. But we feel there's something that is lacking. But we don't know what that is. And when we started the class, the whole idea of an art department class was something that was possibly unheard of, because most of the workshops you get are usually directors, writers, producers, and this is what excites many young filmmakers, wanting to be in the top 5 of departments where you can be easily seen by the world. Oh, he's on top. But like he said, I'm a man who prefers to be in the back and do the donkey work and make sure that the wagons are moving. And I felt like this is a department that has gotten less coverage, that's got almost in terms of mileage less, and yet it's the backbone of the film. It's the world, it's the life, it's what we see, and yet people pay less attention to it. So I was like, okay, I think we're gonna have to start by helping people understand the importance of this particular department in film, because it's like the heart in the body. Without a heart, there's no, you have no life. It's the same thing for film. Without art, there's no film. You can have a beautiful story, you can have a beautiful dialogue, but the audience wants to see the world. And so often we try to force the audience to listen to what we are saying, as opposed to just setting the world there and let the audience make their own interpretation of the world we are exposing them to. So yeah, the first time was an amazing experience. Of course, it gave us an idea of how to proceed. But then when it came, of course, it was a shaker. It meant that we had to work, around the clock and not have the masterclass cancelled because of the pandemic. So yeah, it's a whole challenge on its own to conduct classes online, because the beauty of these classes is having contact with people, so you can explain to them on location. If they have to do something, you can be able to be there to say, hey, this could be done this way when you're on ground. But the challenge of being online is you can't go through the system to go and correct something that is happening miles and thousands of miles away. So yeah, both classes, both experiences have been great. I will talk about this year. This year we have quite an interesting pool of already established production designers coming in, directors, and so that also explains to you that the masterclass is not only attended by novice filmmakers, it's also attended by already established filmmakers who have a span of even over 40 years in film. So it does mean that the learning curve doesn't cease. So for us, it's really very important that this call that we made for filmmakers was not only appreciated by upcoming filmmakers, but also that the established ones felt the need to come and be part of this support system to help them, to ensure that young filmmakers get to learn or get to share experiences without fear with people who are already practicing.
Wow, great. What would you say is the key emphasis for this year's class?
Again, our key emphasis this year is still the art department, but what we've done different this year is we brought in we call them facilitators or collaborators that are on the ground. people with reputation, people who have credibility, people who have contributed to the industry in Zimbabwe. In Harare, we have John Jagu, who is coming in on class and also inspire the other filmmakers. And then we have a sister in Bulawayo, Nkosi, a great writer. She has some of her works right now on Amazon Prime. Joe had just had his film Cook-Off last year.
Netflix.
On Netflix. He has another one coming out. So we thought that this combination of artists across Africa was a perfect pool to come together to share our journeys, you know, and so that we don't leave anyone out in the process.
That is great. And talking about sharing the journey and the processes and the experiences, what would you say is something that you learned from the Zimbabwean scene through your experiences since last year?
All throughout my experience, I have learned that Zimbabweans are burning to tell their stories. They are eager to tell their stories, and they are aiming for excellence, you know. And this fire that you see in their eyes is what again pushes us to say, okay, we are not going to relax on sharing more information to as many filmmakers, because the challenge is there's not so many people making films, and those ones that are making films are limited to a pool of skilled creatives. So you find that a lot of times many people who have already established themselves as production designers, set dressers, art directors are not necessarily utilized because possibly the industry is not aware of their existence or even aware of that particular service, that it's a very important element in the process of filmmaking. So we're saying that let's have as many people come into the masterclass, be it writers, directors, producers, so they can understand the significance of the art department on film. So that way, when they go back into their communities and start making film, they should have an idea of the whole process, so that there is nothing left out in the process of making a film.
Wow, that is great. That is awesome. I'm actually encouraged to hear that in terms of the sort of the burning desire that is amongst the Zimbabwean filmmakers in terms of wanting to create excellence within the production, and also wanting to learn and also sharing their experiences. You're working in Europe, but also working in Africa, and there's always that gap, that divide. When you see that gap, what does it do to you as a creative? The gap that is there between the European, the American, and the African film scene.
I think for me, what is important, and I think what most people out there need to understand, that we're still one world, but we all have our heritages to celebrate. And as much as we look at other cultures, say for inspiration, the American culture, the Korean culture, Bollywood, you know what I mean? It's still very important for us to appreciate our own way of telling stories, because those people are also telling stories in their own way. And because they're telling their stories so beautifully, we get inspired and admire their work, so neglecting our own. So while I'm living between these two continents, I feel like my call is to make sure that I share as much knowledge and experience that I have learned from both worlds with my comrades and my brothers and sisters down back in Africa, so that we can be able to tell our stories our own way. There's nothing wrong with me showing my grandma in Gweru or in Chimanimani on a screen, but how do I show that? How do I make that appealing to someone who is in Korea to say, wow, I'm interested in watching Africa, because we are very unique people with a very unique culture, and I mean, not only culture, but cultures. So the diversity that we have in Africa is amazing. And I think we haven't even tapped 1% of it. So there is a huge potential. There's huge potential for us to I will not even say close the gap because
Yes.
they're just different markets. And we're so big a market that we could be able to even feed our own selves without necessarily having to look out so far away for other
Yeah.
markets, you know.
Wow. Man, that is really great to hear that, because at times we constantly look aside and look elsewhere, looking for inspiration, but forgetting that we actually have got some amazing untold stories back home that the world needs to hear. Tadoba Pictures, what are you working on? Is there any production? Is there anything that we should look forward to?
Of course, I have a couple of documents signed, so I can't really go into details. I have a few NDAs that I've signed. Can't go deep into details, but there's quite a lot of amazing work coming from Africa. I'm busy working on busy working on 4 productions right now. We're still in preparation stages,
Yeah.
but from what I'm seeing, from what I'm reading, man, the future just needs to happen tomorrow, because man, it's so much amazing things that young people are writing, and also not being bold and not scared to come out and express themselves, you know, through film. So right now, as myself and Tadova, we have a lot of projects that are coming up, but also it's very interesting to see that there is people who are picking up the message and understanding that the importance of this movement is more significant than just the people, you know. So I feel more relaxed knowing that people are getting more, people are learning more and more about the importance of art in film,
Yeah.
and taking that serious and realizing that, okay, this is something that is possibly lacking, and we need to step up as a community and as nations, and embrace this togetherness, because one of the things that is failing African filmmakers is collaboration. You
Yeah.
know, being able to collaborate with another person from another country. We're already divided by tribes, and then now we have more division by country, and then politics and all that. So I think as creatives, it should come to a time where we break these boundaries and realize that if I have a creative person in Zimbabwe who is so good at writing, I can contact them. Or if I have somebody who is good as a production designer, say in Uganda, I can contact them, come on board, and we share this magic together, so we can make just a huge explosion on the African continent.
Wow, that is powerful. The power of collaboration, and I see it also playing out, you know, in the European Film Festival, seeing the different, you know, producers, young producers, and film directors, and also other players within the film industries converging and interacting during the festival on different platforms. And the masterclass is also one. This is happening. I really, really have, and it's been awesome having you on the program.
Thank you so much, Claude. And we're very honored to be always on ear ground. And I'm really grateful that we are out there, you know, helping create a movement of artists that are able to collaborate and share ideas. You know, I would say that the moment we let our egos out,
Yes.
we start embracing the magic inside. So it's, I think, time for us to just put our egos aside and start looking at the magic that we can get as a united people, be it in Europe, be it in Africa, be it in Zimbabwe, that we can always learn how to come together and work towards a common goal.
Okay, Simba. Thank you so much, Nkwano. I really appreciate.
Thank you, Tatenda. Thank you so much.
Great, great. So it's been awesome. Ear Ground New Voices Amplified. We keep speaking to different creatives, and now our focus is on the European Film Festival happening this October in Harare as well as in Kwabulawayo. Until next time, I'm out.